Basketball is back, ladies and gentlemen, and the Mavericks are looking to defend their Western Conference Championship. Kevin Gray here of DLLS Sports. Thank you for joining me here on my YouTube channel at Kevin Gray Sports. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to my video and Kevin Gray Sports here on YouTube. And you can find me 5 times a week covering the Mavericks for DLLS Mavs on DLLS Sports, where you have your coverage of your Mavericks, Rangers, Stars, and Cowboys 5 times a week. The best DFW sports talk all in one place at DLLS Sports. The Mavericks are back and we are ready. I am ready to watch this team get back on the floor to try to defend their Western Conference Championship. Last year, a historic season for the Mavericks that saw Luka Doncic score 73 points in a game, had a 50-point game on Christmas Day, was able to win the scoring title, had the most points, rebounds, and assists combined since the merger, finished top 3 in the MVP voting, and of course led the Mavericks to the NBA Finals for the first time since 2011. Of course, unfortunately losing to the Boston Celtics in 5 games. Kyrie Irving last year having a fantastic season, nearly 50, 40, 90, averaging 25 and 5 every single night for the Mavericks. He got back to the NBA Finals for the first time in 7 years last year. And of course, they added Klay Thompson to the mix this offseason as well. Of course, a 4-time NBA champion after spending 13 seasons with the Golden State Warriors, now looking for a second act of his career and decided to join the Mavericks in order to try to win a 5th NBA championship. They also added Quentin Grimes and Najee Marshall. Marshall, a tough, rugged defender who could shoot the ball from 3, could put the ball on the floor as well, can guard multiple positions as a part of that second unit. And the returning guys like P.J. Washington, Derek Lively II, Daniel Gafford on this team as well, and a plethora of guards that are going to be fighting for minutes this upcoming year with the re-addition of Spencer Dinwiddie, where I guess mommy was right this time around. But the Mavericks are a deep team in what's going to be a deep Western Conference this year, looking to put the pieces together this time to finish at least top 4 in the West to have home court advantage in the first round of the NBA playoffs. Last year was a 5th seed running through the Clippers, the Thunder, and the Timberwolves to get to the NBA Finals. They want to be able to have a Game 7 potentially on their home floor as many times as they need to, although be it last year, they didn't necessarily need it. But at the same time, if you're the Mavericks, the future is bright for this team. It all starts and ends with 77, of course. A 5-time first-team All-NBA selection, 5 consecutive years at that. We mentioned him winning the scoring title, finishing top 3 in the MVP voting. Luka Doncic is the straw that stirs the proverbial drink for the Mavericks. His relationship with Jason Kidd and how they've been able to forge what has been a terrific partnership through their first 3 years continues to be one of the major storylines for this team. Doncic, how he responds after losing his first ever NBA Finals in 5 games to the Celtics, and what additional motivation, fuel, and fire that will add to what is already a fiery competitor in what Luka Doncic is, who hates to lose. How much more will that loss in the finals drive him to push this team to be able to not only get back to the NBA Finals, but win it this time as well? Experience being the best teacher, hopefully, for Doncic, having gone through an NBA Finals run for the first time in his career, and at times not being as healthy as he wanted to be during the postseason, dealing with a series of ailments, whether it be a knee injury or whatever the case it may be. Luka Doncic looks to have yet another spectacular year, hopefully healthy throughout the course of the regular season, but most importantly by the time they get to the postseason to try and help this team defend its Western Conference Championship. He will be joined once again by his superstar sidekick and Kyrie Irving. Last year, going 25 and 5, going nearly 50, 40, 90, a spectacular year overall for the Mavericks, although disappointing in the NBA Finals. But at the same time, the partnership and the duo, one of the best, if not the best duo in the league currently right now, will now have another opportunity to be able to lead this team going forward. And Kyrie Irving as the culture setter for this team, as the emotional leader and the guy that will continue to drive this team mentally, physically, and emotionally, and be able to have them connect with each other night in and night out. Kyrie Irving as veteran leader guy and still one of the most creative finishers and one of the most talented players that the league has to offer will have another chance to be able to showcase that this year with the Dallas Mavericks. And they add a 4-time NBA champion, a future Hall of Famer, a former Splash brother in Klay Thompson, who along with Luka Doncic last year were 2 of the 5 guys that made the most three-pointers in the league last season. That is the kind of player that the Mavericks have added this offseason. When you say, Kevin, what about the defensive questions for Klay Thompson at 34 years of age? The physical diminishment that we've seen from his body over the last couple of years, having overcome a torn ACL and a torn Achilles. And I say, yeah, I definitely understand your concerns there. But when Klay Thompson was at his best in his prime, we're talking about one of the better two-way guards, if not one of the best two-way guards in the league. Yes, physically, he is not the same player that he was in his prime, obviously, but what he still is a devastatingly good three-point shooter that will open up the floor and spacing for this Mavericks team. And with Luka and Kyrie being able to find him on every different spot on the floor, Klay Thompson is looking for a resurgence as part of being with the Dallas Mavericks, looking to try to win a 5th NBA championship and looking to do so with the Mavericks. My favorite part about Klay Thompson being a part of this team is the fact that he looked at what the Mavericks went through last year and their inability to make threes in the NBA Finals. And he sat there like you and I and watched and said, you know what? I can help this team, and I want to be a part of that. And thanks to the recruitment of Nico Harrison, the president of basketball operations and the general manager, obviously with Jason Kidd and Kyrie Irving's help, they were able to convince him that Dallas was the place for him to be able to go, to be able to try and win that championship. And we've seen the love affair that Klay Thompson has had with Dirk Nowitzki throughout the summer, wearing his jersey, participating at his Tennis Foundation Classic as well. Klay Thompson has ingratiated himself perfectly to this team, and the veteran leadership and experience and the unflappable nature that Klay Thompson is going to bring to this team will be something fun to chronicle all season long. Yes, we will judge him mostly on what he does on the floor night in and night out with his three-point shooting and his ability to really make potentially a historic offense to be able to go and see it bloom night in and night out with Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic. So Klay Thompson, arguably the biggest storyline with this team with his addition coming to Dallas. But you also have a second-year sensation in Derek Lively II, who last year burst onto the scene in his debut game against the San Antonio Spurs, outplaying Victor Wembanyama in that game and really opening up the eyes of the basketball world and for the Mavericks about the potential that he has. And now going into his second season, having experienced all the things that he did last year, dealing with tragic loss off the floor with the loss of his mother and navigating the emotions of an NBA season, a playoff run, and the family and emotional components that came with all that wrapped together. Now he sets his mind on the game night in and night out and becoming one of the more dominant centers in the league. He has put that on himself to become a dominant presence in the paint. And yes, I know you want to see him shoot some three-pointers as well, which we may see throughout the course of this season as well, when, of course, he made his NBA three-pointer debut in the NBA Finals and set the AAC into a frenzy. But Derek Lively II has a chance to be a real eraser on the defensive end because of how good he's going to be, not only defending out in space, but also as a rim protector, and then on the offensive end, as a rim runner and a finisher for Luka Doncic. The chemistry that those two developed throughout the course of last year was fun to watch as well. So Derek Lively II, looking forward to a spectacular second season as well. And then there's a guy in P.J. Washington who's become one of my favorite Dallas Mavericks. A Swiss Army knife, a guy that's 6'7", 6'8", that can guard multiple positions, has become a guy that Mavericks fans have learned to stand on business with. His iconic image against the Los Angeles Clippers, stepping across half court and letting the Clippers know what time it was, standing on his own business. P.J. Washington is going to be one of the more invaluable members of this team this upcoming year. He's got to get better as a three-point shooter, better as a playmaker and rebounder, another guy that you can trust with the ball in his hands and his ability to attack closeouts. And now on the defensive end, he's going to be guarding the opponent's best player every single night. So when P.J. Washington steps on the floor, he knows what his assignment is. not only be a guy that can be a knockdown corner three-point shooter with the opportunities he's going to get from Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving, but most importantly on the other end, be a lockdown defender that will bring hell to his opponents every single night on that end of the floor. And if so, P.J. Washington is going to be a massive member of this team that provides him a lot of flexibility on both ends of the floor. And now with a full offseason with this team and a full training camp to be able to continue to grow his game with this team, the sky is the limit for a 25-year-old in P.J. Washington who made an instant impact when he came over from the Charlotte Hornets last year. Speaking of instant impacts, Daniel Gafford also coming over at the trade deadline last year, helping the Mavericks become the best defense in the NBA during the second half of the season. If you remember, in their last 18 games, going 16-2, a team that was able to become the best defensive team in the league. Daniel Gafford, with his splash blocks and ability to finish at the rim, became a tremendous member of the Dallas Mavericks. Another opportunity for him to have a full offseason with the Mavericks and going into training camp, which we have heard from our guy Mark Stein is going to be pretty intense this upcoming season, with two-a-days beginning on the first day of practice, the first couple of days of practice, as a matter of fact, once they finish up media day on Monday. But most importantly for the Mavericks, they are deep this year. They are extremely deep. You've gone through the starting five with Luka, Kyrie, Klay Thompson, Derek Lively II, P.J. Washington. Then you look at that second unit with Daniel Gafford, the addition of Najee Marshall, a tough, rugged defender at 6'7", 6'8", that can shoot the ball from the three-point line, can put it on the deck a little bit, and will have more opportunities in volume to knock down those threes. Then you add an athletic Quentin Grimes, who's looking to have a resurgence in his career, putting the injury concerns behind him. Another guy that can be a tremendous defender with length and can shoot the three as well. A team that's heavy in its guards with the addition of Spencer Dinwiddie, where I guess mommy was right this time around once again. Not only him, but Dante Exum, Jaden Hardy, who's going to have a critical camp as well because he's got to try to find a way to squeeze himself in terms of some minutes as well. The same with Dante Exum, who's in the final year of his contract with the Dallas Mavericks. And of course, you have stalwarts like Maxi Kleber there as well, Dwight Powell remaining on the squad as well. The point being, you've got a team that's 10 to 12 deep, and Jason Kidd's management of these players' minutes and how he will be able to mix and match his lineups night in and night out will be one of the big things that the Mavericks will have to look to achieve this year. Last year, they changed up play style in terms of wanting to play with more pace, and they were a top 10 pace team last year in the league. How they incorporate Klay Thompson in terms of potential some more motion offense, knowing that's what he was comfortable with in Golden State. How much more does Klay Thompson fit in with the Mavericks, and the Mavericks making the adjustment to Klay Thompson. We mentioned the battle for minutes are going to be happening with these guards as well, making sure that this team will have the versatility night in and night out to be able to keep up with what will be a deep Western Conference, a conference that is led for most folks as the prohibitive favorite being the Oklahoma City Thunder. But the Mavericks, regardless of who you think is the favorite in the West, are part of the top four teams that you look at going into the conference this year. Whether it be Dallas, OKC, the Minnesota Timberwolves, who have had a shakeup of their own with moving on from Karl Anthony Towns to the New York Knicks and bringing in Julius Randle along with Dante DiVincenzo. And then, of course, the Denver Nuggets with three-time NBA MVP and, of course, NBA champion Nikola Jokic. They added some wrinkles as well, namely bringing in Russell Westbrook. But those are the four teams that you think are at the top of the West. There will also be teams that will be looking to reemerge into the Western Conference as well. I think specifically of a guy in John Morant with the Memphis Grizzlies. They continue to deal with some injury concerns of their own on their team, but John Morant looking to come back with a vengeance this year coming off of injury himself. You still have teams like the Phoenix Suns that are there. The Los Angeles Lakers with new head coach J.J. Redick. Obviously, the Phoenix Suns with Kevin Durant, who just turned 36 years of age. The Sacramento Kings, who are going to be able to score a bunch every single night, but not necessarily be able to defend anybody every single night. You got the Rockets and a number of other teams that are looking to make their mark in the West. Even the Clippers are trying to figure out what they're going to be now that Paul George has taken his talents to Philadelphia to team up with Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey. A lot of intrigue in the Western Conference this upcoming year, but the Mavericks sit there at the top of it One of the things that the Mavericks are going to manage this year are not just the expectations, but getting every team's best shot every single night and managing the emotional roller coaster that will not only be the regular season, but also into the postseason. Every time this team steps onto the floor at the American Airlines Center or on the road, they will be receiving their opponent's best every single night. And the Mavericks will have to show up with their A game, because in a West as deep as it is, and I'd even mentioned San Antonio with Victor Wembanyama and the up-and-coming San Antonio Spurs, in a Western Conference as deep as it is, you cannot afford to fall behind in this conference, because if you do, you're going to be trying to dig yourself out of it all season long, and the amount of physical and mental and emotional energy that you would have to expend to try and get yourself in position like the Mavericks had to do last year to get themselves into a top 5 seed in the Western Conference, you cannot afford to come out of the gate slow this year. As my guy Bobby Carell has detailed plenty on DLLS Mash, you've got to get off to a fast start if you're the Mavericks, and that means coming out of the gate with a sense of purpose and intention that allows you to be in position to be able to take a team's best punch every single time you step onto the floor. But this season for the Mavericks is going to be one fun one to chronicle because of all the things that they have added to this team, the success that they had last year, and what it means for their future. Because when you add a Klay Thompson, when you've got a Kyrie Irving, when you've got a Luka Doncic, the expectations remain extremely high for this team to try and get back to what they believe is rightfully theirs in the NBA Finals. Making it to the Finals last year for the first time since 2011. Kyrie Irving getting back to the Finals for the first time in 7 years. But now all of this under the umbrella of what is to be a bright future for this team and how quickly they can maximize what this opportunity means for them. Because if they can, the Mavs will be one of the favorites to win the NBA championship, and definitely one of the favorites to get out of the Western Conference once again this year, which will be treacherous and deep to deal with all season long. And if so, the Mavericks are right there with one of the best teams, as being one of the best teams in the league. And the future is as bright as it is right now for Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, and Klay Thompson. Jason Kidd having to manage all of this will be interesting to watch as well. And I can't wait for what this team is going to be presenting night in and night out. And as a Mavericks fan, as someone who covers this team, watches this team, and talks to MFFLs all the time, I know how excited you are to watch this team. Basketball is right around the corner, and I, for one, cannot wait to see what this version of the Dallas Mavericks are going to do. And yeah, Klay Thompson's on this team as well. You can find me on X at Kevin Gray Sports. Subscribe to Kevin Gray Sports here on YouTube. Catch me 5 times a week covering the Dallas Mavericks on DLLS Mavs with my guys Bobby Carell, Tim Cato, and of course the legendary Mark Stein. This has been Kevin Gray here on Kevin Gray Sports here on YouTube. I'll talk to you later. Peace.